The story continues about Radloff. Now, you may remember that Radloff was the Songololo who ended up in space. He's still there. He's drifting around in that special box that they put him in inside the space station. And he's floating around because that's what happens in space. And he wasn't sure what to do. Then he heard them talking. The people on the space station said they'd lost a tiny little thing. He wasn't sure what it was. They said something like a grommet. And they couldn't find it. They looked everywhere. And then one of them found it, but it was in a very, very narrow little slot inside the space station between two boxes. And they couldn't get those boxes out. They needed to get that grommet to be able to work on that space station. Then one of them said, but hang on, we've got that millipede, the Songololo. Maybe he can go into that slot and he can fetch that little grommet out for us. Well, they went and found where Radloff was. They took him out of the little box and they explained to him as best they could what he needed to do. He wasn't altogether sure, because first of all he didn't know what a grommet was. Secondly, he thought, if I go inside the slot, how am I going to get out? Anyway, they took him and they took him to where the slot was, and they said to him, Radloff, you need to crawl into the slot now, and when you find the grommet, it's actually a grey plastic nylon thing. You have to bite into it and then we'll pull you out backwards. Wow, he was scared. He wasn't sure what to do. But he figured rather than be put back in the box, he'd work with them. And so he crawled into the slot between those two boxes that were fastened inside the space station. And as he crawled in, it got darker and darker, and he started floating. He had to be brought down to the bottom again. And then suddenly he came to that place where that little grommet was. I'd better bite into this grommet, he thought. I don't know what it'll taste like. And he took a bite, but it was slippery. Couldn't get a bite. He took another bite. This time it didn't bite very well, and it moved even further. He had to go deeper into the slot. And then he discovered that the grommet wouldn't move any further. So he opened his mouth wide, and he took a big bite. And his tiny little teeth managed to catch onto a little edge on the grommet. And then he lay still for a while. He felt that they were going to pull him. They started pulling him out, and as they pulled him out, the grommet came out with him. He had taken the grommet by his teeth, and he was pulling it out. And as he came out, the five people who were on the space station all applauded, because that little grommet had been found. Now they could carry on working. And for that day, Radloff became the hero of the space station. What are we going to feed him? Said one of the chaps. We don't know, because we've never had one of these guys on the space station with us. Well, I heard, said one of the ladies who was there, that they eat vegetation matter, leaves, and they live in compost heaps. Oh, good. One of our experiments is where we grow cabbage. And so they went and they got a little piece of cabbage and they put it down. And by now Radloff was so hungry, he gobbled up all that cabbage. And then he was full as a tick. Can a Songololo be as full as a tick? Well, he was. And then he started getting tired. And so they took him and they put him back inside his little enclosure. But this time they put an extra piece of cabbage leaf in there with him. And that's where he was. He rested, he took time out, he relaxed, and he just floated around inside that little box where he was. He was pretty sure that sooner or later there would be more work for him to do. We'll speak again. Maybe there's another story about Radloff, the Songololo who went to space. Bye for now.